We live in interesting times. Today's stories. Indonesia quake tsunami caused destruction in Palu. Protest against Erdogan begins in Cologne. Amal Clooney appeals to Suu Kyi for a reporter's release. Protesters march to the U.S. Senate against Kavanaugh confirmation. A Syrian NGO creates a motorcycle ambulance in Idlib. Tornado chaos is caught on camera near Ottawa, Canada. Plus, Aid to Fight Poverty reaches out to Toronto immigrants and refugees. Hello everyone, I am Kenny Aquino, bringing you stories from around the globe, and this is Eagle News Canada. Houses and cars are submerged in water, and a bridge is destroyed in tsunami-struck Palu after waves 1.5 meters high slammed into the Indonesian city. Officials said Saturday nearly 400 people were killed when a powerful quake sent a tsunami barreling into the Indonesian island of Sulawesi, as hospitals struggled to cope with hundreds of injured and rescuers scrambled to reach the stricken region. The National Disaster Agency put the official death toll so far at 384, all of them in the tsunami-struck city of Palu, but warned the toll was likely to rise. In the city, home to around 350,000 people, partially covered bodies lay on the ground near the shore, the day after tsunami waves came ashore. The disaster agency said there were also concerns over the whereabouts of hundreds of people preparing for a beach festival due to start Friday evening. The influx of injured overwhelmed hospitals, with many people being treated in open air, while other survivors helped to retrieve the remains of those who died. One man was seen carrying the muddy corpse of a small child. The tsunami was triggered by a strong quake that brought down buildings and sent locals fleeing for higher ground as a churning wall of water crashed into Palu, where there were widespread power blackouts. Protesters are gathering in Cologne a few hours before the arrival of Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan. After talks with Angela Merkel on Friday, both leaders signaled their interest in a cautious rapprochement, but the German Chancellor stressed that deep differences remained on civil rights and other issues. Some 10,000 Erdogan critics took to the streets in Cologne, protesting everything from Turkey's record on human rights and press freedom to its treatment of minority Kurds. About 300 people had gathered on the bank of the Rhine early Saturday. They held banners proclaiming Erdogan not welcome and shouted slogans such as international solidarity and away with fascism. He said, quote, "I want to be the voice of people who can't take to the streets in Turkey because they have been arrested, killed, or otherwise suppressed. Erdogan thinks anything that differs from his opinion is terrorism. I am here to show solidarity." A German student turned up in a suit spotted with fake blood. He held a giant banner with several other people that read "Dictator, Mass Murderer." The 22-year-old said, "I can understand that he was invited to Berlin, but that he is coming to Cologne is a provocation. We are here to show Cologne does not want you." Erdogan supporters, meanwhile, gathered at the Cologne Central Mosque, an imposing dome-shaped building next to the shadowy Turkish-controlled DİTİB organization. Cologne police said that they braced for one of their biggest ever deployments. Both Cologne Mayor Henriette Reker and the state's premier, Armin Laschet, pulled out of attending the opening as criticism of Erdogan's visit grew. The snubs echoed the lukewarm welcome the Turkish leader received the previous evening at a state dinner hosted by German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier, which several opposition politicians boycotted. Merkel also skipped the banquet. Prominent human rights lawyer Amal Clooney appealed to Aung San Suu Kyi on Friday over a pardon for two Reuters journalists imprisoned in Myanmar, saying the Nobel laureate held the key to their release. The two fathers, accused of breaching Myanmar's state secrets law while reporting on a massacre of Rohingya Muslims, were jailed for 7 years earlier this month, fueling international outrage. Clooney said the journalist families had already submitted a request for their pardon, adding that the president can grant a pardon following consultation with Suu Kyi. The British-Lebanese lawyers told an event dedicated to press freedom on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly. The government can, if it wants to, end it today. She hailed de facto leader Suu Kyi to her stated priority of releasing prisoners of conscience and of having spoken of the need for a free press if the country is to transition to a full democracy. Clooney said Suu Kyi knows that mass murder is not a state secret and that exposing it doesn't turn a journalist into a spy. Earlier this month, Suu Kyi defended the jailing of 32-year-old Wallon and 28-year-old Kyaw Soe Oo, hitting back at global criticism of a trial widely seen as an attempt to muzzle the free press. Clooney recalled that when she was a student at St. Hugh's College, Oxford, the Nobel Peace Laureate, who studied at the same college 30 years earlier, had been a hero to me.
You know, if you look at the speech that Aung San Suu Kyi made when she received the Nobel Peace Prize, she said, "I am here because I was once a political prisoner." And her message was, one political prisoner is one too many, and she asked people to help political prisoners wherever they may be. Well, that's exactly the message that we have to her now, is to say, you know, we have hope that you will do the right thing in this case, because these are not ideas that are being imposed on you. These are your own principles that you've espoused. You know, you fought for so many years to be freed from the same prison where they now sit. And now you have the power to actually remedy this injustice today if you wanted to. This case is about much more than just two innocent men. I mean, if you care about press freedom, you care about this case because it sets a precedent. So if these people are locked up, then other people are too scared to do the kind of reporting that they do. And the kind of reporting that they do is important for all of us because it tells us what's going on in the world. And it's, you know, without a free press, you cannot have democracy because you don't know how to judge what your government's doing. It was about a week ago, so the two wives of the journalists have submitted a really heartfelt letter just saying, look, we know that our husbands have not done anything wrong. And as you know, Cha Sa-u has a 3-year-old daughter. At the prison, it's all divided by glass. So, you know, the only time he's been able to see and touch his family members has actually been during the trial proceedings themselves. And Walone has become a first-time father and never met his baby.
Suu Kyi, once garlanded as a global rights champion, has come under intense pressure to use her moral authority inside Myanmar to press for a presidential pardon for the reporters. The case, which sparked an international outcry, was seen as an attempt to muzzle reporting on last year's crackdown by Myanmar's security forces on the Muslim Rohingya minority in Rakhine State. Army-led clearance operations drove 700,000 Rohingya into Bangladesh, carrying with them widespread accounts of atrocities, rape, murder, and arson by Myanmar police and troops. The reporters say they were set up while exposing the extrajudicial killing of 10 Rohingya Muslims in a Rakhine village last year. Clooney, wife of Hollywood A-lister George, announced in March that she would join the legal team representing the journalists. Up next, protesters marched to the U.S. Senate against Kavanaugh confirmation. A Syrian NGO creates a motorcycle ambulance in Idlib. Tornado chaos is caught on camera near Ottawa, Canada. Eagle News Canada will return in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching Eagle News Canada. Protesters marched from the Supreme Court to Senate office buildings, demanding senators vote against the confirmation of Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh.
I believe so. I believe that putting pressure on our senators is the only option that we have right now. This entire process has been so crooked from the beginning because the Republicans have been pressing just to get him confirmed. This man does not belong on our court.
I am old enough that I can tell you that I've already been through this fight. I feel as if Roe versus Wade is very much on the line here. I'm terrified. I have daughters. I hopefully will have granddaughters at some point. I don't want to see coat hangers and back alley abortions come back into this country. I don't love the idea of a Supreme Court justice that is obviously so political and one that has made his claims in front of everyone. They're supposed to be, I mean, we know some are more liberal, some are more conservative, but they're supposed to be fair-minded. Brett Kavanaugh, besides being a liar, is not fair-minded.
To understand that there is a political party that can look at Dr. Ford and her testimony and say, screw you, I don't believe you, we're going to put that man who did that to you on the highest court of the United States is unbelievable.
It's literally a tragedy for our country. It's unimaginable in the year 2018 that we are even at this point. It's a crisis for our country.
The Senate Judiciary Committee announced Friday it would ask President Donald Trump's administration to order a fresh FBI background investigation into Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh, who has been accused of sexual assault while he was a teen. The move signaled that Senate Republicans have agreed to put off a final vote on the conservative judge's confirmation for another week, as Democrats have demanded. The announcement came after key Republican Senator Jeff Flake suggested he would withhold his support for Kavanaugh unless Trump ordered a new probe into the judge's background. To enter narrow alleys to evacuate casualties faster in case of bombardments against residential areas, an NGO in Syria's Idlib created a motorcycle ambulance.
كنت مسعف في سيارة إسعاف في حلب، وحاليا اخترعنا الموضوع هذا، سيارة إسعاف أو موتور إسعاف مصغر عن السيارة. هو بيلبي الاحتياجات الكاملة تبعت سيارة الإسعاف، لكن بأنه أسرع وممكن يفيدنا بأثناء القصف والأزقة والحارات الضيقة والركام. ممكن نجلي عدد أكبر في هالموتور هذا. مثل ما شفنا الحالة طلبونا لحالة وأسعفنا من البيت لأقرب نقطة مركز طبي حالة تسمم. طبعا نحن شفتوا الحالة كانت بوقت سريع، وبين حركة السيارات زحمة السيارات حتى كانت حركتنا أسرع وأنشط من سيارات الإسعاف الطبيعية. نحن طبعا بغض النظر أنه كان قصف أو حالات إسعافية ممكن نلبي الجميع إن شاء الله.
A tornado sparked chaos near the Canadian capital Ottawa on Friday, injuring dozens as homes were damaged, cars flipped over, and over 130,000 people left without power, local media said. Meteorologists reported gusts whipped up to around 120 miles per hour with the city of Gatineau, about 5 miles north of the capital, taking the brunt. Images on social media showed homes with damaged rooftops as debris was seen swirling through the air in video footage. Ottawa Emergency Services official Anthony DeMonte told local media around 30 people were injured, 5 seriously. Meanwhile, electricity company Hydro-Quebec reported over 130,000 customers were without power in the Ottawa area Friday evening. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau urged residents to check on neighbors who might need the help. He said on Twitter, "We're monitoring the situation and thinking of everyone affected." A weather alert was put in place Friday afternoon for all of southern Ontario and Quebec. Winds eased by the time they reached Greater Montreal, which was hit by heavy rains but escaped major damage. Coming up, Aid to Fight Poverty reaches out to Toronto immigrants and refugees. Eagle News Canada will return shortly. This is Eagle News Canada. I am Kenny Aquino. Reaching out to immigrants and refugees in Toronto, the Iglesia Ni Cristo and the Felix Y. Manal Foundation bring to Canada the Aid to Fight Poverty. Eagle News reporter Sabir Mufti reports.
The exhibition place in Toronto, Canada is the biggest entertainment site and prime destinations for trade shows, sporting events, concerts, and more. Although Toronto is considered to have the best entertainment center and business district, some of its poverty-stricken streets tell a different story. Here today, ready to lend a helping hand, the Iglesia Ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, is holding its International Aid for Humanity.
The Iglesia Ni Cristo, Church of Christ, led by Executive Minister Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, conducts its International Aid for Humanity to fight against poverty in cooperation with its humanitarian arm, the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation.
We have about 4,000 care packages with winter articles, some food that we thought that would be very helpful to that kind of situation. And once we finish helping the people who are able to come, we're going to take the leftover bags and we're going to go through the city. We're going to go through the town and we're going to find these people and we're going to just hand it to them as a gesture of loving our fellow man.
This charitable event will benefit new immigrants, refugees, people living with disabilities, the elderly, men and women, youth communities, and those who are afflicted by economic challenges.
Check donations were handed out by Brother Glacerio Santos, the Iglesia Ni Cristo's internal auditor, to all the shelters who participated in this event.
Yeah, thank you so much for your generous donation to the neighborhood organization. We really appreciate the help to the community. The community is very grateful for your support and really giving back to those in need. It's a very powerful event, and to invite everyone together, I think this is very powerful.
This is something big, really, you know. When you come here and just like you see this kind of crowd and you see the people with this kind of feeling here, it means a lot to us. It is a lesson for all of us, you know, just like to attend the Church of Christ, something really special and global, you know, just like globally, to see just like how they organize this event and how they put all the effort to show us just like all of us, we can just like come together and also support, just like whenever we are possible, we can make a difference. and always good to support the people who are in need, you know. First of all, I would like to thank them very much, you know, for just coming today and organizing such an event like this.
Having them approach us and talk to us about the event and being willing to put together kits that encompass so many things that people on the streets need, especially in the cold months of winter, is a fantastic thing, such as socks, mittens, toques, all those kinds of things are things that really are needed in order to help them survive and manage through the winter if they can't find shelter. So that was fantastic to be able to get that invitation to come and know that there's support from the community to be able to help support those in need at that time.
I'm telling you, I am so amazed. Like, I did not expect this. I thought, oh, we're just coming down. Shadi said to come down, you'll get something. And I'm thinking, okay, I didn't really want to come. But when I came, I was really, really touched. And to see how the church is reaching out to the community, I am very much impressed.
I think it's a really great cause. I think it's a very community-driven initiative, and we're happy to be receiving this from them. So we're really grateful.
Church members gave away winter accessories, basic necessities, hygiene kits, and food items for the recipients.
Here in Toronto, there are so many people who are suffering from poverty, and also a significant number of people who are homeless. So approximately here in Toronto, they have about 7,000 bed spaces for people who are without emergency shelter. And usually between 90 to 95% of those bed spaces are being taken up each and every day. So when it comes to this activity, even in a small way, we are reaching out to those people, especially those who are homeless and those perhaps who have just entered into Canada, but they don't have their basic needs. We're going to help them in one way or another so that they in turn may have some kind of aid or assistance when it comes to their immediate necessities. We've also reached out to certain shelters and organizations. They'll be bringing members of their organization to this activity so that they could partake of what the Church of Christ has prepared for them today. So yes, we're looking forward to it. It's just another chapter in the social civic activities of the Iglesia ni Cristo. We do these kinds of activities all throughout the world. So again, this is just another chapter in the good deeds of the church, which of course are based on the teachings of the Bible.
We're here right now here at the Queen Elizabeth building here in downtown Toronto. Currently we have our brethren, some of the organizers that are right now just gathering up, preparing the goods. Now these goods are winter care packages that have been also donated by our brethren inside the Church of Christ from different local congregations throughout the GTA. We even have our brethren who helped as far as Ottawa, Windsor, Montreal, and Beaconsfield.
Here, this is a really huge event to thank the sponsors, the shelters, like the refugee centers and shelters. This is a great opportunity for us, the FYM Foundation, to appreciate their efforts, their hard work, and reaching out to the new immigrants too.
Reporting from the Aid to Humanity event here in Toronto, Canada, I am Sabir Mufti, 1 with 25.
That is today's Eagle News Canada. Join us again next week for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at eaglenews.ph and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenewsph. Thank you for watching. I am Kenny Aquino. I am 1 with 25.